Yo, what is up, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another video. We've just wrapped up the NBA All-Star Weekend, and so now we're in that kind of weird part of the season where we've got these 3 days of no basketball before we get into what is unofficially the second half of the NBA season, and so this kind of felt like the perfect time for me to make some predictions going forward. And so today I'm here with 5 bold predictions that I have for the second half of the NBA season, and by second half I mean the last 20 games or so, including heading into the playoffs. I'm super excited for what's going on because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's up in the air. Nothing really is set in stone in the NBA right now. We have the playoff races, we've got the MVP and other awards, as well as just who's even going to make the play-in tournament in the case of a couple of teams out west and east. There's a lot going on, and so I thought it would be kind of fun to make some of these bold predictions. Some are more bold than others, but overall, I feel like all of them are a little bold in their own way. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. I also want to make a video talking about all 30 teams. If you do want to see that, drop a comment down below to let me know you want to, as well as like the video and subscribe while you're here. Also, let me know what one of your bold predictions is for these last 20 games of the NBA season. So, going ahead, number one on my list of bold predictions is that the Brooklyn Nets end up in the play-in tournament, which is kind of insane to say, even just saying that out loud. And before the season, you might have thought I was crazy. Hell, even now, you might think I'm crazy for saying that. But when you look at the roster on paper, it's not the same as what is really the situation for the Brooklyn Nets. On paper, they've got Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, a lot of role players that are really, really good, as well as adding a guy like Goran Dragic into their backcourt through the buyout market as of today. So they've got a lot of things going forward for them in terms of their roster, but there's a lot of extenuating circumstances that really make things questionable for this Brooklyn Nets team. Starting off, of course, Kevin Durant is injured. When is he going to come back with that knee injury? And even then, how many games will he play? Will he have to take some time to ramp back up into things? Will he not play back-to-backs? Will he rest every now and again? You have Kyrie Irving, who can't play home games. And personally, I don't expect that vaccine mandate to go anywhere, so I'm not quite sure if he's going to play home games the rest of the season or even into the playoffs. So that's a big question mark. And then you have Ben Simmons, who I do think will fit really well once he does join the roster. But for right now, he's got to ramp back up to basketball activities. We're not quite sure when he's going to make his return eventually. So for a lot of these games coming up, it's just going to be the role players. And with just the role players, this Nets roster is not very good. They're better through the acquisition of Seth Curry and Andre Drummond in the role player department, so maybe they can get a few wins here and there, but it's probably not going to be enough, especially when you consider the way that the Eastern Conference is going. You've got the red-hot Boston Celtics in the 6th seed. You've got the Toronto Raptors, who have been on fire as well. 8 wins in their last 10 games in the 7th seed, 2 games up on the Brooklyn Nets. Only 2.5 back from the Brooklyn Nets are the Charlotte Hornets, who, while they're going through a really rough patch right now, have a lot of talent, and when Gordon Hayward comes back, I expect them to turn things around. The Atlanta Hawks, I think, will turn things around too. And so you've got all these teams around the Brooklyn Nets who are sitting in the 8th seed right now that kind of have some things going for them, or they're waiting on players to get back that could pass them by the time that Kevin Durant comes back, by the time that Ben Simmons makes his join to the lineup, by the time that this whole Kyrie Irving situation gets figured out, if it even does. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we do see the Nets in the play-in tournament, maybe not even like the 7-8 game. We might even see them in that 9 and 10 seed game, having to win 2 games to get into the playoffs. And that's when it gets really scary, because what if you have to play one of those games at home and you don't have Kyrie Irving? So it's a big question mark, and this is a really weird part of the season for the Brooklyn Nets. It's going to rely a lot on the role players and Kyrie Irving in the games he is able to play to step up big time and help this team get past some of those teams ahead of them, because they don't want to be in the play-in tournament. And if they do come out of the play-in tournament, teams up there at the top, like the 1 and 2 seeds, aren't going to want to see the Brooklyn Nets round 1. That would be a crazy series. My second bold prediction is that Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. return this season, and the Denver Nuggets become a legit threat to win it all. Some of y'all might not remember, but when the Denver Nuggets had Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. healthy at the end of last regular season, before Jamal Murray got hurt in that game against the Warriors, after bringing in Aaron Gordon, they were ridiculous. They were like the best team in the NBA during that stretch. A lineup of Jamal Murray, Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., and Nikola Jokic is super stacked. You add in great role players as well. You've got like Monte Morris, who has proven that he can get some buckets when you need him to. Jeff and JaMychal Green. This Nuggets roster is really solid. And so if they're able to get those guys back, this Nuggets team is going to really start to find their groove. Now, it is, of course, going to matter when they get them back. Like, if they get them back immediately for the playoffs, they're going to be rusty and stuff like that. But if they get them back with enough time to build up that chemistry and kind of regain that form that they had at the end of last regular season, I genuinely think the Denver Nuggets could win it all. Because right now, they're already a pretty solid team without those two guys. You add in Jamal Murray, who we've seen what he can do in the playoffs, and Michael Porter Jr., who has a super ridiculously high ceiling as a scorer to that roster, things will start to get scary out there in the West. My third bold prediction is that it becomes well known that Zion wants out of New Orleans by the end of the season. And I hope I'm wrong on this one, because I feel like Pelicans fans have really just been through a lot over the course of the last few years, losing Anthony Davis. Then you get Zion, who comes in, but then Zion's hurt every now and again, and then you lose like Alonzo Ball, who was part of that trade. There's just been a lot that Pelicans fans have had to go through, and so I'm crossing my fingers that this is not actually going to be the case. But I've got kind of a feeling. There's been rumors that Zion wants out, and now something that really kind of strikes me the wrong way is that CJ McCollum said at the All-Star break when they were asking him, oh, what is it like to be in New Orleans? Are you excited to play with like Brandon Ingram, and like, have you talked to Zion? He said that he has not spoken to Zion, that he tried to get in touch with him, but he couldn't. Zion is rehabbing in, I believe, Portland. He's not even with the team right now. There's been no indication if he's going to come back this season. And if he doesn't come back, if he's out this whole year, what do the Pelicans offer him in terms of contract? Like, do they go out there and offer him a max contract when he's going to demand it as part of an extension? Or are they scared by his injury history and the chance of him wanting out? So I just have a feeling that maybe if it's not by the end of the season, by the offseason, we're going to know that Zion is going to want out of New Orleans. Maybe they can kind of fix that situation. And I'm hoping that that's not the case once again, but I've got kind of a feeling. My fourth bold prediction is that Giannis Antetokounmpo will win his first scoring title. Right now, at the top of the scoring race, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo and Joel Embiid. You've got DeMar DeRozan also there at third, and Kevin Durant is kind of up there as well when he eventually does come back, but I'm not quite sure how many games he's going to need to qualify or if he will. So right now, we'll just talk about Giannis, Embiid, and DeMar DeRozan. Of course, Giannis right now in second place. He's a prolific scorer. He's been putting up 30 points per game pretty much every single night whenever his team needs him to. He was tied with Joel Embiid heading into their matchup last game, and then Embiid outscored him. So now Embiid has like a slight lead on him. But of course, Joel Embiid is now having James Harden added to the mix. And while James Harden can get him some more open buckets, he's going to be a better playmaker for him. He, of course, is going to take shots away from Joel Embiid. And so I expect Joel Embiid's stats to go down just a little bit, not a ton, but I do expect his scoring to go down just a little bit, even if his efficiency does go up. And so I don't think he'll quite keep up the pace he's on now. And so I do think Giannis could end up passing him or will end up passing him. And then you've got DeMar DeRozan, who is at third behind those two guys. DeMar DeRozan has been a monster scoring the basketball this season, but a lot of that has come while guys like Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball have been out. Nikola Vucevic was struggling to start the season. He is on a stretch right now where he's averaging 35 points per game over his last 7 games. So there definitely is a possibility that DeRozan could come out and win the scoring title. But I do think as the Bulls start to get healthier, I think overall his scoring is going to continue to come down and down. And I do think he'll finish top 2 or top 3 in scoring, but I just don't think it's going to be enough to catch Giannis, who, like I said, has been a monster scoring the basketball this season. He's one of the MVP frontrunners, as well as probably the frontrunner for Defensive Player of the Year at this point. So Giannis making a big MVP case, and part of that will be the fact that I think he ends up winning the scoring title. And finally, my fifth bold prediction is that Devin Booker will enter the MVP conversation. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but I do think Devin Booker starts to kind of enter it and finishes maybe top 4 or top 5 in this MVP race, which is crazy because it's super stacked. You've got Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, DeMar DeRozan, Giannis, and I think Devin Booker is going to make his name known amongst those top 5. Partially because Chris Paul is going to miss probably the rest of the regular season. I don't expect him to come back. He's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks with that thumb injury that he recently sustained. And so it's Devin Booker's show to run. And I think Devin Booker is really going to carry them well. I think he is going to lead the Suns still to the first seed, even without Chris Paul for the rest of the season. I could see him averaging right around 30 points per game the rest of the way, bringing his scoring total up to well over 25 points per game. He's going to get more assists. Even if the Suns' wins drop a little bit, the pace that they're on right now, they're going to be the 1 seed. they're going to win well over 60 games as well. And so I think that's enough to really get Devin Booker's name firmly in the MVP conversation, get him some of the credit that I feel like he doesn't get enough, get him it this season heading into the playoffs. Chris Paul will be rested, he'll be healthy. Devin Booker, I think, will finish top 5. If at the worst, I think he finishes top 6. Maybe Steph Curry kind of steps things up. He gets out of that slump and he leads the Warriors to a potentially close to first seed and get some of that recognition. But I think Devin Booker is going to enter and be firmly top 5, if not even top 4 by the end of the season, really carrying that Suns team and helping elevate them despite losing Chris Paul, one of their most important players, for probably the rest of the regular season. So, those are my 5 bold predictions. Let me know what one of your bold predictions is, whether it's for your favorite team or just for the NBA as a whole in the comment section below. Let me know if you want to see more of these predictions videos, including like one for every team. If you want to see me make like maybe a mid-season awards prediction video, let me know all of that in the comment section below. Your comments really do help me out. I appreciate y'all watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. I will see you all later. Real One Say It Back.